Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the EntertainGents. We're going to be doing a new special with the boys. Today's special is the Sam Raimi Trilogy. I'd like to introduce my guests, Hazen.
Howdy.
My co-host, Brendan.
How do you do?
My other guest,
Okay.
Alec and
I wanna
Alec.
be the
They're a
co-host.
gay couple.
Well, that's why we sat next to each other, right?
And yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, jealous.
I like how Alec had the enthusiastic opening, and then other Alex said nothing. Did not say
hello.
one thing.
Hello,
You know
everybody.
who's the top and bottom, definitely.
Can we just for a second thank Connor for getting this whole thing set up? Because the amount
Yeah.
of work
Working
that
like
went
a dog
into just
for at
setting it
least an
up.
hour and a half.
Oh yeah, we were. Yeah,
I
it
have
was insane.
Greatly appreciated just sitting doing nothing while they've all set up the cameras. and
Connor,
stuff.
I did
It's
think
been really
about-
nice, actually.
Helping you more. I did think about it. So
Yeah, that's good practice for me to do it all.
It's the
Usually
thought
we
that
break
counts.
it up into like segments. Like one person will set up the lights, one person sets up the audio, one person sets up the camera, and that's why it took like about like an hour.
said
You
you
never had to
job.
set this much stuff up, though. You never had to set it up for this many people, no?
I mean, close to it, like 5 people. I
Okay.
think is the most we've done.
So like the same setup then.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
So
Nice.
yeah, we're here at the beautiful Mammoth Studio. Today we're going to be talking about a trilogy that is near and dear to all of our hearts. We've had many hours of conversation about these movies. There's something I think that all of us like to definitely joke about and rag on, but there's something that all of us kind of hold dear to our hearts. So I kind of want to hear Hazen. Maybe we could just go like clockwork.
We're doing like what's the question? Like, are we?
just
It's just
I
like
think
where-
this means
where-
like your general thoughts on the trilogy.
My thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is how like most of us will feel, but it's just like as a kid, that was obviously they were huge for me, and as a kid, I definitely took them much more seriously. But I think there's an element to like movies when you're a kid that stick with you when you're adult, and you find like way more, I don't know, you find them like way more interesting as an adult. Like when you're a kid, they're just, you know, movies or whatever. Then you're an adult, you like appreciate them so much more for like what they were and like how
Yeah.
they impacted your childhood or whatever. So they were huge. I loved Spider-Man as a kid, and obviously I watched all of them a million times. I had the Spider-Man 3 disc and would just put it on repeat. It was like one of those movies, like when you're a kid, you always had that one movie that you would just watch on repeat that
Over
your
the
parents
hedge.
could never keep you from watching. Like that would always be your one thing, and that was mine.
Yeah, I don't. Did you guys like remember Spider-Man 3 like coming out and like in your head being like the best movie at the time? Like, because it's definitely the worst out of all three.
Out of
It's
all
definitely
of them,
the
but
worst.
for me at the time, it was groundbreaking. Like it was probably the most excited I've ever been for like a movie when I went and saw it, and then
And the
came
thing
home.
is too, when you're young, it's like every sequel's in your head's better than the last because
Oh, yeah, 'cause it-
number 3 on it.
Right,
So
yeah.
you're like, this one's a lot cooler.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
it's another Spider-Man movie, and Venom was in it, so it was like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
But I don't think I even appreciated that necessarily. I'm sorry if we're going like down the line or whatever, but
Oh, no,
yeah,
no.
I think for me it was just like for like what he said, like new Spider-Man, like that was it. It wasn't like I didn't think about the details or whatever.
Yeah. So Brendan, let's hear your general consensus.
Yeah, I'm a few years older than Hazen, so the only other movies at the time was like X-Men 1, which I didn't, and I still really don't care for the X-Men a whole lot. So Spider-Man, when it came out, I was like, this is really cool. And I've always liked the movies, but I feel as we've gotten older and we're now young adults more, we've used it as a way to bond and make a lot of memories. And that's made me like the movies a lot more than I did back then even.
Yeah, you know, I went through a brief period actually before I was like this kind of group was like a close-knit group of like friends, not liking the Spider-Man movies really. Like I went for like a long time just like kind of boycotting them. And I always sort of had like this love-hate relationship with the second one. Because like I remember it being a big deal. Like I loved the first movie a lot. Like I watched it a lot. I remember being like probably 4 years old when the second one came out, and going to the theater to see it. And it was like, I'm not sure if you remember like those first memories of going to the theater and seeing a movie, but like it was a big deal anytime you went and saw a movie. And it wasn't like just anything. Like I remember I had like a winter coat that had like this Spider-Man 2, like him like webbing on the outside, but the inside was Doc Ock. Like I remember like having like all of the toys, like all the stuff before. It was so cool. Jeez.
You were the popular kid in school.
I was beaten up a lot.
Did anyone else, sorry to go on that topic, did anyone else have the pajamas, like the Spider-Man pajamas that had like the webbing on the end of them?
I never had them. My brother did. And
Those were cool.
Like, as a kid that was like 6 years older than my brother, I still wanted to just rip them off and wear them.
Spider-Man.
You were missing out big time. You kidding?
Who had the Spider-Man mask where like you
I
would
did.
breathe into it, it would like get like wet by
That was me. I had the spandex too and the gloves and stuff.
yep.
I'd run around my house just
whole
like
thing.
I had web shooter. I remember that.
Oh,
Yes,
I did
so-
too. You like put like the canister on
Yeah.
the wrist and it would like shoot like
Yeah,
the
like the silly
Yeah.
string or whatever.
Made a
Yeah.
complete
that's what it
mess.
was.
Yeah.
So
No. We never had that. There's no way we had that kind of stuff. Did we actually have like the shooter?
I don't remember you guys.
I would have
having
been, I would have been ecstatic to have that. I don't remember
that.
having
Yeah. I think I remember actually a little bit before being like, "Who got that?" And I was like,
But
yeah,
I think we
it
might
ran
have-
out. Though.
Yeah, at the
same
time
thing.
even it was just a little bit lame too.
Right? Stop. Stop.
Hey,
I'd like to hear Alec Ham's consensus on the movies.
Well, I'll keep it as
Keep it short and sweet.
short and sweet as possible. And I'll try not to move while I do it.
Don't move and don't lose eye contact with me. Look at me. Look at me. I'm in control of this podcast.
Hey. Okay, no, I can lose eye contact. I already failed.
Let's do some
So-
ASMR.
Anyway,
welcome to the
Sam.
welcome to the podcast, the gentle. What's it called?
I can't even like barely hear you, but I just know how it's gonna sound later on. Just that.
Oh, you dropped it.
Before we get too derailed, what's your opinion
So much
on
for making
the
it short
overall
and
movies?
Yeah, I mean, when the movies came out as a kid, I mean, it was, you don't really know, like, what's good and what's bad. So when I saw it, it was like, oh, another Spider-Man movie. And I thoroughly enjoyed them from the beginning. But I think it's deeper than what just, personally we enjoyed. I think as a whole, that trilogy, it kind of set the foundation for future superhero movies and kind of just the craze around superheroes in general in terms of like movies. And it was even the first place you saw like that classic Marvel logo in the beginning with all the comic
that's
book
true,
pages.
yeah.
It was a foundation for sure, and I think it
Yeah.
deserves a lot of respect, even though it can be pretty funny
Yeah.
and like cringy at times and cliche. There are underlying, serious moments in it. Although it is pretty funny, it set the foundation for, movies and superheroes, I think, today. So you got to give it its respect where it's due.
It's something crazy to think about because like a lot of people talk about the first Iron Man being like the first MCU movie being the sort of start of like all this stuff, being superheroes being big, but it's like at the time the first Spider-Man movie was in like the $100 of millions opening weekend. And that was like a big deal. Like that's not like as much of a big deal nowadays with like superhero movies, but like at the time for any movie coming out, like that was a crazy amount of money. And I was actually watching this video the other day that was like talking about the behind the scenes. It's kind of cool. Sam Raimi like literally made all of that money off of that movie and like immediately started working on the script for the second movie. So like there was like no like nothing from the from Sony or anything yet. Like it was just straight like he knew that he was going to be doing another movie, went straight into it.
Yeah, Raimi
And-
was like a comic book like nut too. Like he was really interested in that kind of stuff. So when Sony put him in the director's seat, I think it was a pretty good decision because the guy at least had like a vision. He was inspired by that kind of thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
it shows too, like his obsession with like comic books and stuff. Like that's what I've always thought about the Spider-Man movies. Like they are so comic book-y, if that
They're
makes sense.
campy.
They are extremely.
Yeah.
They're like the perfect showcase of what like a comic book would be if it was put into like an actual like movie form or whatever movie setting.
People say now that those movies aren't good because of how corny they are. but like that's what he was going for.
Yeah, that was exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I'm not sure how many of you've read like the actual. I've never like read a lot of them, but like I remember reading. You remember like the Marvel Legends, like the action figures that would come with a comic book.
I can't say I do.
A lot of them
at Comic-Con.
They were like an older action figure. I had a few of them, and I had a Spider-Man one, and it had the very first Spider-Man comic book in it. And like reading through it, like it is very corny. And Sam Raimi was a fan of that series. Like he grew up reading those, and so when you look at the source material that he's going off of, like, it's a comic book movie. Like, he knows it's corny. That's something I really just realized is like those scenes where we all laugh at it and we're like, look how old this movie is and how bad it is. Or like, the more I've come to realize, it's like, no, he intended for it to be that way.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted you to feel like, yeah, Peter Parker's kind of a loser, man. Like, he thinks he's cool, but he's not cool. Like,
Right, exactly.
Can I be honest though? As a kid, I always thought that Peter Parker was like in his 30s. Like even as a kid,
Yeah.
Parker was in his 30s.
By that point, I think at that point in the movies he was older.
No, but he
At
was
the-
playing a teenager though. That's
at
the
the
thing.
at the third movie.
He
No,
was
yeah.
In the
first
first movie, he was playing a teenager. But for some reason, even as a kid, I was like, why is this adult going to school?
I think he was older by that point, right?
He was older. Yeah, I'm not sure how old he was. But.
How many years apart are the movies?
2002,
I think they're all,
2004, 2007.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it is. I think.
All right. Well, this
No.
is your
Sorry, we
podcast, but we,
No, I don't want to.
sorry, buddy.
Alec, being the one that probably remembers them coming out the most, what's sort of your opinion overall on them? Like, what does this kind of mean to you, this series?
Well, yeah, I'm the oldest one here, so I remember like clear as day when the first one came out, the second one came out, and the third one came out. I'm not really the best opinion for it because I never went to the theater as a kid that much. I really didn't, just for weird reasons, but
You were too cool bowling with the kids.
it's not it. I wish it was that. No, it was. I had like a weird fear of going to the theater because of the noise and everything. But later, I eventually, it came out on DVD. You know, that was the thing. And we watched Spider-Man 1, and I'll never forget watching it. It was amazing. I loved it so much. It was so good. The second one, I didn't really watch that as a kid that much, but the third one, I mean, everyone's saying it. I was like, oh my God, this is the best Spider-Man ever when I was a kid. And it came out when I was in middle school in 2007. So I was like 13 years old. And
Yeah, that's like a good time for Spider-Man to be in your life.
I was in fourth grade.
you were in fourth grade, yeah.
I think I was around that age when the first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man came out, and I remember that one being
was
really
like
impactful to
2012,
me.
so you-
Actually,
That I was,
Yeah.
I was like really old when that came out because I was like
Yeah.
18 when that came out, and I actually liked that too. And like, this is pretty good.
I remember there's only one thing I remember about like watching those movies, and that was just thinking that Peter Parker was way too cool in those movies.
Well,
I
yeah,
wanted,
yeah.
I wanted to
That's all I remember.
I thought the exact same
I
thing.
wanted to like be friends with that Peter
Yeah.
Parker. He was
I
too
was like,
cool.
who
He
will be
was-
picking on this kid?
Yeah,
Oh,
he was
yeah.
attractive.
I liked him.
You know, athletic.
You can
skating
tell
around.
they tried.
kind of the thing-
They tried. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, that's kind of the thing they messed up was like he really doesn't have much of a change. Like the whole like Tobey Maguire thing will always be iconic when he comes home and he goes to sleep and wakes up with his six pack.
Yeah.
Everything all right?
Yeah.
He's like, there's a change.
Fine.
Big change. Yup.
Change.
We should like have a tally for all of the references that we have in
be
like
late
this
for
podcast
school.
because there's gonna be so
Right.
many.
Right.
So, by the way,
Before
Tobey
we get on-
Maguire was born in 1975, so that would have put him at about 26 when they were filming.
Wow.
The first.
Before
Yeah,
we
so-
get off subject and change, I want to hear.
Yeah, right.
right.
I mean, I gotta be honest. I hate the movie so much.
He's lying.
Yeah, I don't like them at all. You can leave. I think a lot of people can agree with me about this because the acting is just terrible, and you know, I know he tried to make it a good movie, but he just failed. So nothing more to say. No, sorry.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
Wait.
You have
He's
nothing
not
else
serious,
to add
no.
to that?
By the way, Zion mentioning the acting, I do want to say that I should have looked up his name. The actor who played Uncle Ben, I think, is easily the best actor in the series. And he was almost too good of an actor.
Like,
for
if
what
we're
he's
talking
doing.
about like, I mean, it might just be the fact that this one, like I just said, like it was the most impactful when I was as young. But the second movie is a pretty good movie. Like,
yeah.
it's a really
I
good
think
movie.
that's the best one, actually.
I think from like an
Without
actual
nostalgia, yes, that's
Yes.
the best movie for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
I think from an actual like the standpoint of an actual movie, I think the second one's definitely hands down the best. Still like it the least out of all of them though. Like
Yeah.
in terms of like
Does no one like the third one? What about the third one?
Well, come on. I mean, that's the best one.
like-
we
Everyone
we
fancies
all
this.
love the third one.
We love
I
the third
would-
one, but
I
not
would-
because it's
I
a
hate
good
the
movie.
third one now.
Like, I'd be mad if like it was something different.
I've got to give you,
but-
I got to tip my hat to you, Zion, for your just unadulterated honesty. Just
Yeah, like
I don't like. I think the second one tells the most simple and most human story out of all of them. Like the fact that like the entire time it's pretty much just showing how crappy his life really is and how like he either has to choose to be happy or be Spider-Man, and like there's not really an in between.
it's
And also like Doc Ock's entire story is kind of
Yeah.
like really depressing.
really yeah.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
I hated how they had to kill his wife too. That was like, oh my god, yeah.
She would have lived if she'd have shut
I never
her
understood
eyes.
how she. I never understood how she
Spoiler
died
alert.
though. Was it the piece of glass going into her
Yeah,
eye?
no,
like in
it
one
doesn't really
shot?
show much. All it shows is her screaming and falling down. But
PG-13
I
after all.
assume
Is that that movie? Do you guys remember that? When Alex said that thing about like being afraid of going to the movies, it like kind of like struck in the back of my head, like thinking like there were points in the movie theaters where stuff was creepy. Like that movie to this day still has creepy scenes. Like the scenes where
What creepy scenes?
like the scenes that still give me chills
yeah.
are like that scene where the glass goes into her eye always creeped me out as a kid, and then the scenes when he's in the hospital and they're working on him,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like the guy with like the chainsaw, like now it's
that
like
scene
hokey.
was unnecessarily
It's-
like
That
Yeah.
was one of
intending.
the most Sam Raimi
That
scenes.
scene-
though, in
Wait,
the-
but didn't
in the
Sam
whole
Raimi,
series.
like, do horror
Remember
before?
the scene
with all the
Yes.
scream. Yeah, with
Remember
all
the
the
scene
screams
where
and like
the
yeah.
chick's like clawing the
nails.
ground or whatever. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That always like
He knew though, as he knew that would terrify some children. Like,
Yeah,
he knew what he was
absolutely.
doing. I mean, come on.
Oh,
the little
yeah.
Asian
Well, it's
lady,
like what
she's
he just said. He was
He
like,
wants you to be scared of the villain, though, right?
I mean,
wanna be-
I
he's
think
scary. He was.
he
scary.
definitely did it. I mean, intentionally in a hokey, like
mean,
extremely.
It's not a horror movie though. You don't need to be terrified of it.
That's what I always thought that scene like stood out big time in comparison to the rest of the movie because it just like was
It
so
almost
strange
seemed
to
a li-
see.
It almost seemed a little out of place.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, like when you rewatch that scene now, like there's no like background like audio to it. If you
Right.
like listen, it's just plain silent in the
And the way
background.
that
While
it's
it's just
shot,
the
like,
screaming
yeah.
of everybody and the sounds of chainsaws going. Like it's really it's just real. There's none of that like boom, like creepy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just it's straight up just.
There's no
nothing.
ambience in the background.
There
isn't.
It's
Yeah.
just yeah.
And so it kind
Yeah.
of chills you a little bit because it's like you can kind of imagine that like
Because at the start of that
actually-
scene, like it's just them around them, like very quietly working.
Yeah.
and that's what
Yeah.
builds the tension.
Yeah. So
I think it's he kind of just wanted to pay like
Homage.
homage to
To his roots.
homage.
You wanted
was
to
a
pay
scary
homage to his
scene.
roots.
He,
Wait, what were his
he wanted to pay homage.
Sam Raimi directed
Really?
Like
Is that a- is
he's
that
one of those
serious?
people
Yes,
that like
real.
put
He did,
Easter eggs in all his
Evil Dead
movies. So like the Bruce Campbell was in the Evil Dead movies, which were like his first movies, and Bruce Campbell's in all of them. And fun fact, Bruce Campbell was supposed to be Mysterio in Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
he's
yeah.
the different
Right.
guys like stalking Peter Parker.
that would have been great.
Yeah, it would
Honestly.
have.
Well,
Sam Raimi's Mysterio would have been phenomenal.
I think so.
That, I mean, it really is disappointing knowing that it had to end at episode 3.
For now,
True,
Yeah,
true.
That's the thing. Like we live in a time where it's
Spider-Man 4 is more possible now than it has been in like 13 years.
Yeah, when I came up with the idea of, hey, we should do a podcast about Spider-Man tomorrow, this was like last night, like 12. I'm sitting there and I was watching all these videos, reading all these articles, like trying to scour the internet of like any rumors about what's going on with like, it's weird that Sam Raimi's doing an MCU movie. and that now like we have confirmed like confirmation that Tobey Maguire will be in Spider-Man 3, and also that Doctor Strange and Spider-Man 3 are connected, and he's directing Doctor Strange. Like that's weird to me.
Like there's got to be.
It's weird.
Okay, there is no doubt that either this is going to be way bigger than we think it is, like, and he's actually planning on doing something like in connection with his other movies, which would be amazing, or he is absolutely like he is absolutely going to connect it in some way. If it's just going to be like cameo or if it's just going to be something like that, we don't know, but there is no doubt that he's going to do something like that. Like why else would they bring him back, bring Toby back? I don't know who else is another
Andrew
person.
Garfield.
Andrew Garfield's coming back. Like there's no way they're not doing something like that.
Doc Ock's
So I'm
back.
I'm super that too.
Yeah. That's actually the coolest thing is that Doc Ock is confirmed to be the bad guy for Spider-Man 3, and that it's the original actor. Like
Which-
I think he was really good as Doc Ock.
Perfect.
Like really good.
That goes back to the second movie, which is that there was like, again, we always rip on the movies for like their acting and stuff, but that movie had some genuine moments where the acting was like, wow, this is actually pretty good for like a comic book movie.
mean,
like it was like
Pretty much
that's
anything
actually
that
genuine.
Willem, is it William Dafoe
Yeah,
or Willem?
It's Willem Dafoe.
Like,
It's Willem?
well, he's-
anything
yeah,
Willem
he's
Dafoe
amazing.
was in was just like he
yeah.
took the scene.
Willem
He's
Dafoe,
amazing.
like
He's awesome.
Willem
Oh,
Dafoe,
yeah.
I would accurately describe as one of those actors that is exactly like the Sam Raimi trilogy, where it's like we like make jokes about him a lot, but like legitimately are like, no, we love him as an actor. Like he's a great actor. Like he's really good.
The
Like,
one thing I was upset about was the fact that they had to cover up his face with the Green Goblin mask, because they were originally I did some research on it, going to use a little bit more of like a animatronic,
prosthetic?
like a more synthetic,
really?
like animatronic face, kind of like closer to how it is in the comics with the
Like
big bulgy
CGI?
eyes,
Yeah.
and like the like you could see his mouth and everything
And, like, the
moving,
purple
and you know,
hat
yeah,
stuff?
you could be a little bit more like like Willem Dafoe style, you know. But they ended up switching it for the for what we have today, which honestly I think it looks good. But for somebody with such an expressive face,
Oh, yeah.
and like just as somebody like as Willem Dafoe, like it kind of ruined his potential.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, it speaks volumes that his facial expressions when he wasn't Green Goblin are like so.
they were more scary.
Yeah,
than, like,
they
when he
were
was.
great. Like, imagine what
Yeah.
could have been if he like actually had those same expressions
Yeah.
when he was doing scenes as the Green Goblin.
he was almost, he was actually, I felt like more scary when he didn't have the mask on. Like that scene, that dinner
the scene with the mask's off and he's like crawling towards it like a cat.
Yeah.
He's like, what do I do?
the Thanksgiving scene always made me like that whole part where he fights him in the burning building and then goes to Thanksgiving dinner was always so tense for me as a kid. Like I remember that was like,
Connor, you know what that scene's like that I just now thought of?
what's that?
In Spider-Man Homecoming when he's in the car with Michael Keaton.
Oh yeah, and he finds out, or they both figure out that they know
those
each
are
other.
actually
Yeah.
very similar scenes. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Did you notice how like in that movie the light turns green?
Yeah.
Right when he notices
That
Oh,
scene was
yeah.
done
Yeah.
very well.
Homecoming.
Yeah, that was I like him in that movie.
What scene are you talking about?
In Spider-Man Homecoming, with the first one with Tom Holland, when
Mm-hmm.
he's in the car with Michael Keaton
Yes.
going to the
Yeah.
homecoming dance.
And
Yeah,
when
he
he
did do
finds
that.
out
And he-
he's Spider-Man, the
he
light
puts
turns
two and two
green on his
together that
face.
Peter
Yeah.
Parker Spider-Man.
Oh, really? And then the light turns green on his
Yeah,
face. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Right when he realizes that the light turns from
Interesting.
red to green.
I never noticed that.
That does
A good
actually
detail,
like
yeah.
it's a lot like that Thanksgiving scene,
Yeah.
like in terms of like Spider-Man's blood and with the cut or whatever, and then them both kind of doing the same thing and figuring it out.
Hit a flagpole or something like that. What was his excuse?
No,
he was
he,
like
he hit a bike messenger.
bike messenger. Yeah.
I
How
love
did you get that cut? Clipped by a bike messenger.
I had to beat an old lady for these cranberries.
Should I laugh right in? Like I just laugh right into the
Yeah,
mic.
it's
Is that a big? Okay, just making sure it's not like
Stop
ear rape.
overthinking it with your big nose.
Look, man, what do you want me to do?
These microphones are pretty good. I think we can
It's cut.
abuse them.
It's my nose
We
is
should ear
big
rape
enough to where it's constantly getting the breathe in and out. You're just gonna have to deal with it. Okay?
Yeah. The only thing that would have been more interesting as Willem Dafoe having a better face, like for the Green Goblin, is seeing Nicolas Cage in the Green Goblin suit, because he was up for the run. He was like up for consideration as Green
I
Goblin.
mean, have you seen
imagine?
Ghost Rider?
I actually haven't seen Ghost Rider.
I have seen Ghost Rider, and Elliot, what's his name? The guy, the old guy in that movie. Sam Elliott. He's the best in that movie. I love him. I love that movie. And it's awesome.
Nice.
I got one last ride left in me. Carter Slade. Can you keep up? Let's ride.
All right. Well,
Like, can you imagine like Nicolas
Ghost
Cage
Rider.
like in those serious moments, like when he's talking to Harry and he's just like, "Don't be ashamed of who you are."
But can what our perspective on like everything relating to that movie could have completely changed just with that one role?
Yeah.
that role is Willem Dafoe. Though.
Yeah,
It
for
is.
sure.
He did great. You can't.
Nick Cage
yeah.
was also almost Superman.
That's
Almost.
I
He was
mentioned
up.
that. Yeah.
He wanted to be. Poor guy, just can't hit the nail on the head. He did
That
with
looks.
Ghost
That
Rider.
was Tim Burton, right? That was making that.
Yeah. That would have been such a weird movie
That-
because
yeah.
Kevin Smith was supposed to do the screenplay for it, and he like just talked about how like the studio execs were just like all super high on coke every time they'd go over it, and like the studio exec was like, he had like the script like for Brainiac, and he talked about like the idea of Brainiac coming down on the ship or whatever, and it just being like about kind of like the Man of Steel actually idea, like where it's more so just a Clark Kent story, and it's Superman comes in at the end, and the studio executive was like, I want a big spider. He's like, I want a big robot spider. I want Superman to fight him. And he's like,
I'd pay to see that.
I'll try to figure it out. And so he like met with him like 3 other times, and he just kept going on about the spider, and eventually made it so that Brainiac isn't even in it. That Superman's just gonna fight a giant spider. And the whole thing ended up getting scrapped, obviously.
Yeah.
And the guy went on to make. He was the studio executive of the Wild Wild West, which, if you remember, if you've ever seen that movie, there's a giant robot spider in it.
Yeah.
Is Will Smith in that movie? Oh my god.
So I got kind of an interesting factoid here, real quick.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make this kind of a game too. I'm gonna make you guess what it is.
Cool.
So James Cameron was originally set to direct the Spider-Man trilogy, but his version was going to be much darker and have more profanity in it.
Yeah,
and
wasn't-
even have a scene where Spider-Man ends up spying on Mary Jane while she's doing what?
Shower.
Changing.
It's got to be one of
Everybody go
those,
around.
right? I'm just gonna stick with that one. Yeah, showering. I like that one.
Killing spiders.
Well, I like that
It's
one.
undressing. Undressing.
But Zion, you nailed it
I got it.
while she's changing. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't
Or getting
have
undressed
that,
or something.
Yeah, they can't have that in a PG-13 movie though. So.
No.
I remember too, Leonardo DiCaprio was supposed to be him too. Like they wanted James Cameron to run it, and James Cameron wanted to be, which is actually how, funny enough, how Tobey Maguire got the role.
Really?
Yeah, because Leonardo DiCaprio just wasn't interested in doing it,
Oh, really?
and him and Tobey Maguire are like best friends in real life. And
Oh,
so
that's right.
he's like, I might have a friend that would be good for that.
Yep. Heath Ledger
That's how-
was up for the running too.
Heath
they
too?
had him
Yeah,
in
Jake Gyllenhaal
consideration.
was. Jake Gyllenhaal was supposed to play, there was filming like set, and it was like done within weeks that Tobey Maguire came back for Spider-Man 2 because he hurt himself on another movie.
Yeah.
But Jake Gyllenhaal was like set, and within weeks they were gonna film with Jake Gyllenhaal recasted in Spider-Man 2,
Poor guy.
which is like crazy to think.
Yeah.
But Tobey Maguire apparently like he was still like injured and just started filming anyways.
wow. Yeah. Way to go, man.
I don't think could a dark Spider-Man movie even like I don't know how that would work. It just does not seem like something
A dark Spider-Man movie?
like a darker, like more
R-rated Spider-Man
R-rated
movie, yeah.
Spider-Man movie. Like
I
that
think
does not seem like something I could.
I think it could. There's storylines like in comic books where I can't remember. It's like it's like right after he had he gets the Venom symbiote again and like starts wearing it again, and Aunt May is killed. Aunt May and Mary Jane are killed by some bad guy, and he like just kills the guy. Like he just like starts killing people because he's wearing the Venom suit, and like he finally gives into his anger. And yeah, it's like one of the darkest Spider-Man stories. But like there's definitely stories out there where he like breaks.
I mean,
character.
realistically, some of the stories we've already seen are darker. Just they're done in a much more campy way. I mean, the ending of which one was the Spider-Man spoiler?
Spider-Man
where
3
Gwen
is
died.
still pretty dark.
That was Amazing Spider-Man.
That was
2.
Spider-Man 2.
yeah,
Okay.
Gwen Stacy's death, and then anything with the Venom symbiote's usually pretty dark.
Still darker, yeah.
Yeah, they could have made Venom R. I feel like they could have made that R. instead
Venom
of
became too
PG-13.
much of a meme, at least in
Yeah.
our friend group. Like, just Eddie Brock and just everything he said is a meme. Like, everything the dude said. Like, Parker, you're such a boy scout. What are you getting the guy a break?
Trash, Brock.
talking about. I think he was talking about Venom the movie. Are you talking about Venom the movie?
Yeah, I'm talking about the separate thing, but I mean, it does work both ways.
I actually think Venom was definitely like very campy. It was very corny, but I actually think Tom Hardy's a good cast. As
I
Venom,
just love
actually.
Tom
I love Tom Hardy a lot, actually.
I think the casting choice for that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting a different Venom movie though than what we got.
They're supposed to be a lot
did you
darker.
expect a good movie?
For the
I said, did you expect a good movie?
Yeah, I did. I expected a
I didn't watch that
definitely
movie,
a good
so-
movie. I didn't like it very much, honestly.
The Venom movie?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It wasn't terrible, but some of the lines in it were like a little elementary, like to me, and I was like, meh.
Yeah, it just didn't stick with me. Like, I didn't have any like inclination to be like, I want to go see that again just to make sure if it like. It just didn't really care
Yeah,
for it.
it
all
wasn't
much.
bad or anything. We got a funny meme from it for like a little while.
True.
Like what the hell are you?
Yeah, we
and then
did,
it was
yeah.
just like a random person's like.
the best thing that came
insert
out of that
here
movie,
type of thing, yeah.
I'm just mainly excited for the future of it, like because now it's like it's getting closer to like everything being connected, and like Tom Hardy and Tom Holland's Spider like being together in one universe. Like that's what I'm kind of looking forward to, and the new one's supposed to be R actually too. Like it's supposed to be because I'm
Carnage.
not sure if you
Take
remember
my
the after
talents.
credit scene or whatever with Carnage.
Better.
Yeah.
Like Woody Harrelson's
with
Carnage.
Right.
So it's called Venom into Carnage. And Andy Serkis is actually directing it.
Oh, yeah.
The guy that played all the motion
Gollum.
capture. Yeah, Gollum,
that one
Caesar
guy.
from Planet of the Apes. I'm excited to see what he'll do with it because he's never directed a movie before, but he's a really good actor.
He was also in Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
No.
All right. So let's get on to a new topic.
Sam Raimi. Spider-Man.
Let's talk about Sandman because there's a lot of layers here. All right. I'm not a bad person.
I'm
just got bad luck.
I'm gonna say I think Sandman's the best part of Spider-Man 3.
Sandman's definitely the best
That's
part of
a
Spider-Man.
hot take.
No,
Is it?
Wow, that is a
Sandman-
hot
I think
take.
it's by
Sandman-
far he's the best.
Sandman as a character is like actually I take back what I said about Doc Ock. Sandman is the saddest character. For
You
sure.
understand why Sandman's doing it. And
He
you know
plays
everything-
Lyle in George of the Jungle.
Not a bad person. Just had bad luck.
Stop.
Okay. Well, what you're saying is you think that completely, like from every standpoint, he was the best part of that movie, or just from like a cinematography standpoint or
No,
whatever?
I mean as a character, and yeah, just as a character, I think he's the best character in the movie.
I think that, yeah, I liked his like arc with Peter, honestly, like that whole thing.
Yeah.
But like in terms of how much enjoyment I got and what I liked,
Really.
I don't think I would put him on that.
I mean, you
like,
don't think
that high up.
Spider-Man is the best character in that movie?
In Spider-Man 3,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a better character overall because he's had more movies to develop. But in Spider-Man 3, no,
I wonder why they didn't add more with Sandman.
because it was bloated with.
That's one thing
lot of
that I
other
think
things.
definitely makes that movie worse.
Yeah, Venom wasn't originally supposed to be in it. It was originally supposed to be only Sandman, and that's a big reason as to why I think that movie is just not good. Is that studio executives cut into what Sam Raimi actually wanted to do? Because I believe his like whole intention was to have like a giant showdown for 4, and I think 4 was where he wanted to wrap it, which is kind of weird. Like, why not just end at 3? But he wanted to do 4, which would be Mysterio and Vulture, and maybe he was planning a setup for a 5th movie because Venom was supposed to show up at the end or something.
Scorpion.
Yeah,
Scorpion's an awesome villain.
Scorpion.
That is a good villain, yeah.
Kind
We've
of
not
underrated,
seen him
yeah.
yet, but he
played the
he
PS1
is in
Spider-Man
the.
game.
yeah.
I did. That was the first villain I knew.
Yes.
Spider-Man, actually.
You know, I loved his character from that game so much that I wanted his action figure.
I actually got his action figure
I
because I
had
liked
it,
him so
and
much.
his tail.
I know. I was cool. I was a cool kid with my Scorpion action figure.
I'm honestly just happy that we got Mysterio, and like he's not dead. They're for sure setting him up for more. Like, and Jake Gyllenhaal is great as Mysterio too. Actually,
he was.
I really liked the take they put on Mysterio in the new movies. I'm not a huge fan of like the new Tom Holland. I know that might be controversial.
no,
That's
I'm not
definitely
really
its own
either.
conversation.
It is
It's this whole conversation. But Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, the way they portrayed like when Tom Holland's Spider-Man was like under his influence was like it was like kind of creepy and like trippy, kind of like almost like Scarecrow from like the Batman Arkham games. I don't know if you guys have played
Right,
that.
yeah.
But I loved those, and those resonated with me so hard, and like it was just like the same kind of feeling a little bit, and I loved it because Mysterio I think can either be pretty silly. Like if you want to make him silly, because he's got like this fishbowl of a head, and it's like magic. But you can also take that in a really cool direction, and I think they went in a really good direction with it.
Well, I think that is majorly due to Jake Gyllenhaal just being amazing, like as an actor and whatever, and doing
So
that
good.
part. He did awesome as Mysterio in that movie.
The casting for the bad guys have been very, very. I mean, even like Tom Holland is not badly casted. He's badly written. Because Tom Holland is a good actor. I will give it, like in the other stuff that I've seen him,
he's a
not
good
Marvel.
Spider-Man, for sure.
He's a good actor. He's good at acting in Spider-Man. He's just badly written, and it's not directed very well. And that's on that like the overall like whoever is overseeing the overall story of the MCU. It's too connected to Iron Man. Still.
Yeah.
It's not Spider-Man.
Well, that may change. I mean, I think are they still going along with like the 2 movies from each era of Spider-Man? Are they still going to do that?
I think they're doing. I think so. It's kind of fuzzy now with Sony, like their new plan. But I believe their original plan was to do like 3 movies for each era of his life,
3.
like high school, 3 movies, 3 movies in college, 3 movies as an adult.
Yeah, because I mean, if so, then it makes a bit more sense why his character has not gone through like much development yet. If they already have him, because I'm hoping like the same as you, which is that he branches off from like the whole connection to Iron Man. Like I think it's fine for now, but if it branches off, it'll be a lot better. And him just becoming his own person and not.
I think for sure that's what we're gonna get. Since right now there's not much of the Avengers in the MCU.
True.
I think he's gonna be forced to be more independent, which is what that Spider-Man needs.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's like the thing is like the High Top Films YouTube channel I watch a lot like talks about that specific thing with the Tom Holland things is like he's not Spider-Man because Tom Holland's Spider-Man, it just looks fun to be Spider-Man because he's saved out of every crappy situation he's put into. Like every situation, Iron Man somehow saves him still. And even after he's dead, he still somehow comes around and saves him. And like you can say like, oh, the whole point of the second movie was that he was growing past him, and it's like he still is there to have a new suit from him. Like he still has all his technology from him.
Yeah,
it's still all about just being Iron Man Jr. and not being Spider-Man just to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, I hate
think
that
you're right.
too.
He's not independent enough. He seems like a baby, honestly. He can't
That's
do
a good
anything.
segue. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna slightly change the subject though, so if you want.
Okay, I'll make it quick. I completely agree with you guys though. Tom Holland, like it feels like he was kind of just like handed this on a like silver platter. His character, not Tom Holland himself, of just like and he always seemed like he wanted to be an Avenger. Like, oh, Mr. Stark, oh, I'm so sorry, I want to be an Avenger. Oh, that's so sorry.
And Tom Holland.
And then even still, like you said, even when he's dead, or Tony's dead, he's still getting the suits handed down to him, all this technology that like it just doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's never.
exactly. And that Spider-Man suit that he got, like with all the nanotech or whatever,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
so
it's a cool
dumb. I hate it.
concept, maybe
I
in
don't
the
like that either.
future.
Yeah.
It's
Spider.
it's not. Yeah, yeah.
But it's just too much for like Spider-Man.
It's too. It's like he's Iron Man, but in a different
Exactly.
suit. I
It's,
don't-
it's like
yeah.
Spider Iron Man.
Yeah, but that's not really what Spider-Man's known for either, right?
yeah.
He's not
No,
known for like
yeah,
big tech, is he? Like
no,
all
I was
that
gonna
kind of
say
crap.
like he's never been.
I mean,
known
the
for
Iron
on
Spider
the-
suit is in the comic books. It's like something he gets made for like the Civil War thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
And it depends on the
Not-
Spider-Man too. Like he makes his own web shooters sometimes, just stuff like that.
yeah, he's definitely like techie, but like he doesn't have the resources to do it.
You know, he's poor.
'Cause he's always
right?
on
He's
his
just
own.
like a poor
Yeah.
kid. That's kind of his thing.
And that's like another thing. Like it's weird because like nothing about Spider-Man that like makes Spider-Man who he is has been introduced yet. Like we don't have characters that are Spider-Man characters in it really, besides people that have the same names but aren't really like the character. And we have MJ, but it's like it's already been confirmed that's not Mary Jane. Her name's Michelle. Like
Yeah.
you got like
Wait, for real?
Wait, who was that?
yeah.
Really?
yeah, her name's not Mary Jane. It's they call her MJ in the movie, but it's
Well,
not.
that's confusing.
Yeah, it's not.
It doesn't make sense.
It's not
actually,
Mary.
at
Her
all.
name's not
Yeah.
Mary Jane because originally it wasn't supposed to be, but then everyone liked Zendaya.
Yeah, there's no point in
like
changing that.
Zendaya
That's
at
just
all.
such it's such a
Certainly
dumb
don't.
decision.
Preach it,
Yeah. I don't
problem.
understand it one bit.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's kind of all over the place. I'm hoping that like as he gets introduced into his college era, he kind of meets all those people. He's like, I want to see Green Goblin. I get like you want new.
Bring Willem
new,
Dafoe back, baby.
Honestly, I'm waiting for him to be recast. There's no word on him or James Franco being in the new movie with all of them. I'm like, you gotta have James Franco and Willem
I
Dafoe.
personally believe James Franco carried.
like a bug.
Like, just imagine though. Imagine they're all fighting and like their worst enemies come out, and you just hear Willem Dafoe's voice
You hear
in the
his
background.
laugh,
Like,
that laugh when he comes in, like,
Oh man.
itsy spider.
Maybe they're keeping it private because that would be sick to see that. Honestly,
it's still. I think the biggest shock and like amazing thing, like the happiest I've been in an MCU movie was seeing J. Jonah Jameson as the like original actor with
that
him.
was amazing.
Like I was like,
J.K.
oh my
Simmons.
god, they brought him back.
Yeah.
did they keep that hidden? By the way, they didn't tell anyone about that.
I didn't know about it.
Pretty much just like say what you will about Sam Raimi. He knows how to pick characters for his movies so well that they're reusing them for the future movies.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
I want to say we were talking about how Tom Holland's Spider-Man just is always bailed out and doesn't seem very independent, and that's kind of what I've connected with when we've watched the Sam Raimi trilogy in more recent years. Is how hard it is for Peter to just hold it all together, just not even being Spider-Man, just as a young adult, like finding work, paying rent, getting the girl, just all that stuff, and how relatable that is.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you believe how much trouble he has at managing to be Peter Parker
Right.
and Spider-Man.
Because a lot of people didn't like that. Like, a lot of people were like, well, it's showing too much about Peter Parker. It's supposed to be a Spider-Man movie. There's so much Peter Parker stuff. It's like, that's a huge
Peter
part
Parker
of,
is
like,
Spider-Man.
It's
yeah,
different than Batman.
It's
where,
not,
like,
yeah.
Batman is more Batman than Bruce Wayne, but
Right.
Spider-Man and Peter Parker at the
And-
very least equals.
Batman, like the Bruce Wayne element, is not at all interesting at all. Not necessarily interesting to his character. Whereas Spider-Man and Peter Parker need to have their own.
Bruce Wayne
yeah.
feels
They
like
need to be shown in their own separate things.
Bruce-
Whereas like Bruce Wayne's just like a billionaire
Bruce Wayne is
businessman,
context,
eccentric,
not
whatever.
I mean, it's not even like a very unique thought because I mean, they even say it like in Batman comics or movies or whatever that like Batman isn't the mask, like Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne is
Yeah.
the mask.
Exactly,
That
yeah.
Bruce Wayne is Batman, and Batman is like
Batman's
Don't confuse me.
yeah.
Bruce Wayne's he's just as crazy as like the Joker. I don't know if you guys watched The Killing Joke.
Batman podcast.
Like, all right,
This
I'm
is
hijacking.
Spider-Man
Yeah, that's
podcast.
But yeah, it's just they have to. I agree with you. Like I really liked them showing the more like realistic side to him, not being able, having to be Spider-Man, and because of that, he isn't able to pay for stuff, and he's actually has to live like a normal life around it. Like I really enjoyed that.
And I feel for him living in that apartment where it's just the one room.
The doorknob breaks every time you have to pull it.
And is God to your landlord.
Something I've never really thought about.
about it
Because I've always joked about, we've always joked about it so much, is the scene in Spider-Man 2 where he's at the ball. It really, watching that video, the video that I watched the other day about like Spider-Man 2, like the overview, it really shed a lot of light on it, because it's like his life sucks so bad that he's working a pizza delivery job, which I never put that together. Is that it's not because he can't work for the Bugle, it's because he doesn't want to work for the Bugle, because he has to take pictures of Spider-Man and have his name like tarnished. So then he has to go back to the Bugle with his tail between his legs. He has to go and shoot this thing where he finds out that MJ is dating J. Jonah Jameson's son, who's a handsome astronaut.
Which it doesn't make any sense, because she's not that pretty.
He's like, oh boy.
Yeah, she's not really worth it.
No.
She
I'm not
gets
the only
engaged
one.
that night. She tells him that she doesn't love him. And then James Franco comes up and smacks him and basically tells him that he's nothing. And after
You like
all
that,
of that,
Spidey?
loser, he has
You
to
like
take
that?
a picture of J. Jonah Jameson in his family.
You didn't say Spidey.
Yeah,
in
when
the
you
movie
actually
was,
start
but I
to
like
think
it.
about it, it's like a
wrong with him?
super
Yeah.
depressing movie in some section.
Like
It's
that.
right after that he swings out and he loses his. He can't. Like,
Failure to perform,
Yeah.
What kind of guy gets
There's a
drunk
pill
off
for that.
champagne though? Like let's be real.
My dad.
Another. Like,
If we can change the subject a little bit,
Ryan is speaking.
I am speaking. Yes,
sorry.
I kind of wanted to change it to the Spider-Man games. I don't know if
did wanna
anyone.
say that, yes.
Okay, I don't know
Holy
if anyone
crap.
has played those,
That is
but I remember those vividly, and they were a lot of fun.
Those
Who remembers before? Spider-Man 2 is the obvious one, but who remembers the first movie game before that came out?
I do.
okay, we're talking about the one where you would swing endlessly over city streets.
Yeah,
You
like
could
There was
Yeah,
nothing to
yeah,
stick
that
to.
was a good
Yeah,
one.
that
There
was.
was fog.
And you'd be like, let's go to the ground, and then it'd just be like, boom.
I thought that game was so cool.
Yeah.
Until Spider-Man 2 came out.
Spider-Man 2
Still holds
is
It still holds up.
Yeah.
like the fact that you can still play it and be like, this game is just so well designed.
Yeah.
It really makes me miss movie games, because there were some that were really good. There
Oh,
were
yeah.
some
There
that
were
were
exceptions, yes.
really, really good.
There were so many movie games that were total flops, though. So I feel like they
course.
kind of stopped.
But it was
making
around
them.
that era.
That
about
era,
Avatar
you
the
could
game?
get away with making it.
Yeah,
I mean,
there was a lot.
it wasn't nearly as much
Cayman had
like
that Cayman.
what's the
I know
word
you
like
do, that's why I
they didn't
bring it
have
up.
as much expectation.
I never
for games
played it.
to
I
where
just
we
thought it
do
looked
now.
terrible.
Did anyone here play the third Spider-Man game for the?
Yes.
You play
I
it
did not.
tonight.
I played a little bit of it, and I thought it was kind of like mundane, mediocre.
No,
like
it's funny. It was like less. The
They were hit or
graphics
miss.
were. The
They were a
graphics
little-
were kind of mediocre, and
yeah,
the
it didn't
storyline
feel as good either. The storyline was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hit or miss. I mean, they're so different in each game. From the first, second, and third, they're all so different.
It did give
Right.
you a hint though to who the next villain would be, because the first villain in that, spoiler alert, in that game, if you ever play it, it was Lizard.
Yeah.
And in the next movie after Spider-Man 3, it was sure enough Lizard, but it was
Right.
not
Dr. Lizard.
for a long time later, because I think that game came out in like 2008 or 2007, whenever the third one came out.
Yep.
And then 2012 came out with Andrew Garfield, the one, and it was Lizard in that one. But
Right.
That was really exciting when I heard that the Lizard was going to be the bad guy, because like I've always loved the Lizard. Like it's always been one of my favorite bad guys.
I
So
never knew
lame.
much about
I
it.
didn't really care too much for him.
He's just a lizard with a cone.
care.
I prefer
But
Scorpion more.
speaking of that, do you know if they intended to? Because they showed, I don't remember
Dr.
his
Connors.
Yeah, Dr. Connors a lot in the Raimi movies.
Peter.
Did they actually intend at any point to put
I'm
Lizard in the
failing
movie?
you.
Or is that
They
just
did. I
like
don't know.
Sam Raimi, I think did almost all the Evil Dead movies, and there's a lot of them. I'm sure he probably would have kept going for as long as they would have let him.
Because I always remember him like being a big part of those movies or whatever, just like showing up randomly, and then it never, obviously, nothing happened with him, but
Nothing wrong with laying eggs. What? I would say planting seeds, but
You're cut off. You're cut off, Brendan.
I hated,
off.
which movie was it with the special ending? It had Rhino in it, but it was not the real
That
Rhino.
was
the
the
Amazing
second
Spider-Man 2.
one. Yeah, that one
I
was
hated
really bad.
that.
The metal suit.
I did not
No.
like the Rhino immediately
He's
when I
supposed
saw
to
it.
be just, he's the Rhino. I hated that so
Yes,
much.
he's-
He was like a mechanicalized, like,
Yeah, it was-
there
robot
wasn't-
mech.
and it was
Well,
like some
no
random-
wonder they didn't end up making another movie. So
and also
Yeah.
that scene wasn't all the marketing. It was the last 10 seconds in just the last 10 seconds.
Yeah.
of that movie. Dumb.
what
Yeah,
a tease, man.
I'm
Huh?
I
What a
liked
tease!
Rhino a lot.
It was
How-
it
It was
sucked.
the biggest tease in the world, and it wasn't even worth it.
yeah.
Also, is Rhino like a big character to people? I've never cared about him.
I really did like. I thought he was really cool, but
I just remember him from the second game, like, I'm the Rhino, nothing can hurt me. And
yeah,
he
it was the
goes,
first
"Dude."
game for me because he was in the first one too. But
Was
I know
he in the first game?
He was in the first one for PS1, and I.
What do you
he's
guys-
so cool because I couldn't beat him, so I automatically assumed he's amazing.
Yeah, I don't remember him being in the first game. Rhino?
PS1.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think
that.
he was in the
We're-
first one, yeah, but or maybe it was the second one.
Might have been the second one.
I remember.
I thought he
Two
was in the
was with
first one.
Electro. It was all about him. Sorry.
I was gonna say, what are you guys' thoughts on Electro coming back? Because I'm actually kind of excited to see what that'll
Oh,
be
that's right. I
like.
forgot about Jimmy Fox coming back to Electro.
Oh
Is
yeah.
it going to be
Oh,
Jimmy
crap.
Fox?
I always
again?
confused him with Shocker.
It's gonna be him
and
again.
Electro.
Yeah.
they're kind of the same.
Shocker was in
I'm excited to see Jimmy
Homecoming.
Fox's-
Yeah, I remember he's the dude with the fists.
very briefly.
Oh.
Shocker was in Homecoming.
That's right.
Shocker was just a guy with a pair of shocky gauntlets.
That's
right?
who Shocker is.
That's him.
Yeah.
Do you remember that boss fight, Brennan? In
do.
the game?
Yes,
Yeah.
I
I do.
love
In
that
the-
boss fight.
In the subway, right?
Yeah, in the subway and the more open
Yeah,
environment.
that's where I first
Right.
knew about him.
I actually really liked that.
yeah.
I have to tell you right now, because I never got past it. If any of you beat the Mysterio part in Spider-Man 2,
Dude, the
I pay
Mysterio
you-
part as
I
a
pay you
kid creeped me the
props
crap
because-
out.
I
It
beat
creeped
it,
me
but
the
it took
frick
me so
out.
long though.
It creeped me out so bad.
Yeah.
It was so scary. It was the music, man. That.
He was always the best villain. I thought he was like the scariest, the perfect like Spider-Man villain is Mysterio.
And then
And
you
that's
like
why
see
I'm
him.
finally glad that they're gonna put him in a movie finally.
There's like no middle ground for him. He's either so cool,
Yeah,
or you
Kraven the
just
Hunter's
beat
a
him.
cool
You
bad
go
guy.
into a mini mart and punch him in the face once, and it's over.
Yeah.
Like it's in the game.
Yeah,
And he's just like ah.
It's either Venom or him, Venom or Mysterio. Those are like the perfect Spider-Man villains, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that Mysterio was in the new ones. I'm excited to see Scorpion, obviously, at some point.
Yeah.
I know Jamie Foxx. Like Jamie Foxx is a great actor, and I know that was just completely the direction of the movie. But like, I'm excited to see what his Electro will be like when it's done the right way. He's not going to be blue this time, from what I hear.
Okay. Yeah.
But like,
Also, speaking of depressing characters, you remember his character in that movie?
he wanted to kill him. He
That
was
was like-
going to kill himself.
His character was so sad.
Wasn't he gonna jump in like with the eels? Oh my god!
Wait,
made
Jamie
him
Foxx's
Electro.
character tried
Yeah,
to kill himself
I
by
guess-
jumping into a vat of eels, but is that what happened? Yeah. And then he just survives, and he's just like, oh.
Yes,
Who
that's
thinks
correct.
I'm going to kill
I thought it
myself?
was
I
on
might as well
accident.
jump in this vat of
I thought it was on
That would be
accident.
so painful. Why would you?
Let's kill myself in the
around.
worst way.
Like I'm gonna stab myself a bunch of times. What?
There's so many villains that the Spider-Man universe has. I want to see. I want to see Hammerhead. I want to see Carnage. I want to see Toxin.
Hammerhead's just the thug with just the flat hat.
I know. Who is the play him?
Who was
It'd be
the villain that
hilarious.
was? Who was the symbiote character that was a step above Carnage? Which
It was
there's
Toxin.
Like that was. Was there another one after that, or was that it?
Probably, but all I know
'Cause
is Toxin.
I remember it was like Spider-Man's strong, but Venom's strong.
There's
but
tons of
Carnage
them.
is even stronger,
They-
and
Toxin.
Toxins or whatever.
Toxin was
He
the
is even
grandchild
stronger.
of Venom,
If you look
Okay.
into the
Yeah.
comics, they have like
Grandchild of
there's a
Venom.
ton
but I
of
don't know
those.
anything after that.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
probably
What's up?
more, but I don't.
Surely.
There's a lot more.
Yeah.
But
Hey, you guys ever play Spider-Man Bowling on the PS1? That was an actual.
Really?
Do you not remember that?
no.
Okay, on the
never heard of
PS1 Spider-Man game, there was. I probably played it more than the actual Spider-Man game.
it like a-
You could play bowling with the Spider-Man, like, and remember the
Oh, yeah.
narrator, the dude
Yeah.
would talk like this,
Yeah.
and you
He
just,
had
you know,
mode.
he would talk while you were playing the bowling version, and it's where you would you would swing into bad guys like they were the pins, but it was just in a regular bowling alley.
That sounds
Yeah.
like as bad as Superman 64.
That was a bad game.
This wasn't
played that game,
a standalone game.
game.
This wasn't a standalone game. This
saying
was
it's
a
in
part
Spider-Man
of
PS1.
Spider-Man 1, the game. It was like an arcade thing they had.
It was like a secret. Was it a secret game
Y'all
or
ever
something?
play
I don't think so.
Madagascar on
Oh,
PS?
okay.
You might have actually, you know what? Remember the cheat codes?
Yeah.
I think you had to type in a cheat code. to get it.
Probably, yeah. That game was famous for cheat codes.
Did you just
definitely.
ask me to play Madagascar? Is that what you had?
I love cheat codes so much in that game, though. Yeah,
That's it's a sad thing that cheat codes are like a
it is
dead,
sad. Yeah,
like
I'd
thing.
wish
You
they
could just go online now and look at them. Back then, I had a book. Like, I got the book of cheat codes.
I did too. I had that. I
Get it
think
from
nowadays
the
we're
book fair at school.
Yeah, that's where I got it. Cheat codes
I got
Guide,
mine from school
2004.
too. It was from my fifth grade teacher though. She was giving away a bunch of stuff, and
creepy,
I was like,
huh?
I'm nabbing that.
So that's
But I
cool.
think with multiplayer gaming nowadays, it's become a lot more competitive for like games to have cheat codes in them. It's kind of just like a
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
If you have
You gotta
cheat
buy it
codes,
now.
It's harder to monetize things.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
The last time I took advantage of cheat codes a lot was in GTA 5, I think.
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa,
They
whoa,
had cheat codes in GTA 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they
Really?
do, but I
didn't know that.
couldn't
It's
memorize
It's not
them.
really a code. It's like it's like super old school. You just press a combination of buttons. a
Seriously?
certain way.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's like
that's
really
cool.
old school too.
That
That's
is.
like back in.
I mean, that game is old though. GTA 5, it's getting up there
But
now.
I'm talking
So-
like the coding system they did for that. Like you have to press a certain number of buttons. That's been around since like
Yeah.
NES.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think specifically with GTA, I do kind of think that Rockstar being like the company that they are, or the publisher that they are, I should say. I think that'll always be something that's kind of part of the GTA games because it's kind of just a staple. Like I know that those were like a bigger one. I remember like a lot of PC games were too, like Age of Empires and stuff. Like a lot of games like that had them, but.
You just
I
made me
think-
think, Connor. Since this is about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Did you know that for the movie games, there was unique versions for PC, and they're like really bad. Like this
I did not.
Spider-Man 2 we got on Xbox
Oh.
and PS2 is not at all the Spider-Man 2 that
I think
was on PC.
I think I
They had a PC
I think
for
I've
that?
seen that.
Yes, there was a
actually.
PC version of at least 2 and 3, and they are like notoriously horrible.
That was another weird
Seriously?
thing.
Wow.
which was
Watch,
like-
watch videos of that when we're done here. It's like they're amazingly like it's not at all the same game. It was a different team.
Wait, so it wasn't like a redo of it? They just
So-
made
yeah,
it.
what
different
were they-
thing?
It's a different game. Called
So it's just like a
Spider-Man 2.
spiritual
crazy.
like remake of it. Like
not
nothing.
spiritual. It's not.
That
a
was something
remake.
that used to happen with a lot of games. Like I had Spider-Man 2 on PSP, and that was a completely different
Yeah.
game from PS2.
Mobile consoles, they always have gotten weird games, especially on the DS and stuff.
Yeah.
But
You-
like, there's no reason why the PC
yeah.
couldn't have
No,
done
yeah.
the
That
PS2
doesn't really make
better.
any sense to me.
Well, I think we could talk about this for hours. There's a lot
So
to
why
talk
not?
about.
So let's keep going. Yeah.
So I think
It's 9:30 and I haven't had dinner, so.
yeah.
I'm hungry.
Can I say one more thing?
So yeah, okay.
Hey, Alec, you know about Craven the Hunter?
Yes, I do.
Ooh, that's a good one.
His whole goal is he wants to hunt Spider-Man because he's a hunter. That's awesome.
He's the
Yeah.
ultimate
Wasn't he in
hunter.
the
He
what
was
was
in-
the which was the game where you
was
Shattered
Shattered Dimensions.
Yes.
Oh my
yes.
God.
Yes. I was
The
about to
Amazing
say.
Spider-Man game, I believe.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Anyway,
liked it.
Yes. I can
Liked it.
Do you also remember when
Oh, we
I
can't.
remember, sorry, real
It's-
quick.
it's okay.
Web of Shadows I played.
Oh my god.
That came out, like it was like for the 360 and the Wii, but I got it for the PS2. And
Was that the one where you
It
could
was-
choose to be good or bad?
yeah, but they got super lazy with the old generation consoles that I remember. It was just 2D. That was it. It was 2D. You could just see one.
Really?
Yeah.
The PS2 version of Web of Shadows was was a side scroller.
Yeah, it was just a side scroll,
I
like you
think
would
it was-
play
Wow.
like Mario or something.
I think it was like that on
Probably
the
just
PSP
put
too.
the DS version on.
It was still fun though. I did have fun with it because it was real simple, but it was like really lazy. Because then I saw my friend Josh Sisman. He had the Wii version, and I was like, "What the heck, man?" It was like all 3D and everything.
Fart noise reverb.
So you were blown away by Josh Sisman's Wii graphics. Is
Yeah,
that- okay,
the Wii
okay.
graphics that he had,
Weren't
I
we
was
all?
like, "That's not fair." I thought all Web of
Insane.
Shadows were 2D. I thought it was that way.
Well,
but
this was
no.
a good conversation. We could really, truly go on for so long about these movies.
Yeah.
I want to go home.
I don't blame the. I don't blame the.
The customers right now.
Don't worry, Mr. Aziz.
Can you keep in the
These
fart
pizzas are in
reverb?
good hands.
Were you gonna say some concluding comment?
Yeah, I think I will actually on the way home.
Hey, can we?
And so why is that special to you?
I know. I was like, this is so much. It's like sweeter than the.
Is it good?
It really is.
Listen to it again.
I mean, I don't know. I've had a.